Are you ready, Michael?
We're ready.
Are you ready, Silly Willy?
I'm ready, buddy.
Silly Billy.
Well, welcome to season 3 of Sports Back Talk with Boly and Ringer, and our guest this week.
Who is it?
Hey, all I can say is that in the program it said Bill Bright. I don't think I can do that. Billy.
That's fine.
Billy
That's fine.
Billy Bright is the way it's got to be. I can't do Bill Bright. That sounds too sophisticated.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is.
That sounds like you're not much of a fisherman if you got Bill Bright.
Yeah, right?
Well, we'll get to that part later.
Well, we're here at Looney's, but we've taken it out to the deck, Mike. We couldn't pass up a great night. We're going to talk bass fishing first, and we thought we should have the lake a little bit behind us and talk a little bit about that. So, Billy, where'd you end up?
We ended up in 32nd spot. It was, it was a grind out there. First day we did all right. We ended up with a little over 14 pounds. And the second day, wind picked up. We had some pretty big waves out there, and it was pretty rough and wind and rain. And we ended up with our 5 fish, a little over 9 pounds, and it was just a tough deal on day 2.
It seemed like to a team. It was they talked about the waves, they talked about the wind, and talking about controlling your boat to even stay in the places where you wanted to be.
Yeah, see, I had one spot out there that we caught some big bass pre-fishing, and it was just over a lot of the main lake open area. We couldn't get out of the wind to target those big fish, so it was just kind of a run and gun technique after that on where we were going to go and what we were going to do. So, after we got out there and kind of seen the conditions of the area of the lake we were fishing, it kind of totally changed our game plan on what we wanted to do, and we were just happy to bring in our 5 fish. And coming back, I think I made my dad a little excited, but it was fun. We enjoy doing it every year, and it's the guys that won it. Congratulations to Scott and Jeff, and even the couple local boys in 2nd and 3rd. Congratulations, those guys both had some ginormous bags. I mean, any other year they would have won.
Well, yeah, you talk about Jake Rule and Charlie Ledoux coming in 2nd place. They set they beat the old record by nearly 2 pounds.
Yes.
And then they get beat by almost 5 pounds for first place. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had a chance to talk to Jeff and Scott afterwards, and they just said we kind of lucked onto this place, and it just kept producing big fish, and sometimes that's the way fishing is, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that they were on when they found that spot too, is what other fishermen obviously weren't, was they were targeting deeper bass. They went to some deeper structure with the weather that we had the week and a half before the tournament. I think that sent a lot of them big fish down deep, getting ready to put the feed bag on for fall.
Do you think this is a technique that more fishermen are going to employ in the future now that the cat is out of the bag, or in this case the bass is out of the bag? So
well, I would say that it would definitely be something that I've always looked into it. Everyone says when the weather gets down, those fish congregate into a deeper part of the lake, and it seems to, when they say you find them, you really get on them. And definitely something I will definitely look forward to. Although there is a lot of people that already have that kind of technique. It's just whether the big fish are there or not.
Okay, 40 teams, right? 60 teams. So 32, that's basically halfway, mediocrity.
Just below average.
Yeah.
Just below average.
Guess my question, you got 60 boats, and I'm not going to question how the tournament is now compared to how it was. Before it was a 2-2-2 format, 2 fishermen, 2 days, 2 bodies of water. All in the US of A.
Yep.
Okay, now with them opening up to Canada, no more river if they don't want to, what is the percentage of fishermen that are fishing in Canada?
Well, I would say that probably over half of our fishermen go to Canada, but there are still quite a few boats that end up staying on the US side.
Is that because they don't have the fastest boats in the world? I'm asking?
No, there's just the structure that's left over on the U.S. side.
For the lesser boats that get out late.
Yep.
Okay.
So the half of the field that, whether you got a fast boat or not, the land that's untouched in the States is still phenomenal. You look at even the guys that fished the U.S. side last year were bringing in just as big as bags as the Canadian side. You know, when it comes to smallmouth, they were bringing in 18 pounds. You look at Rainy Lake, it is actually phenomenal. It's majority of walleye fishermen. So when you're talking bass fishing, I don't think the U.S. or Canadian side really matter. It's just the amount of area that you got on the U.S. side versus the Canadian side. That's just the only thing that there's less of.
Did anybody fish the river?
Yeah, there was several teams there. Two teams on day one. I think they were around 12 pounds or so. Yep. And then day two, I think there was five teams. Yep. And I'm not really too sure. I didn't follow.
Biggest one came in at about 14.4. They got up to was the big bag.
Yeah.
Because in previous years, when you had the two areas of water, people were actually catching bigger fish on the river than they were on the lake, if I'm not.
Yeah, I would say in my first years of this was my 9th or 10th year fishing the tournament, and I would say that in the beginning of the years, the bigger bags were definitely coming off the river. And now that's kind of flip-flopped a little bit here in the last 5 or 6 years, I think, that I've noticed myself. You still catch a lot of bass down there. It's just how big they are, right? You get a lot of cookie cutter sized bass down there. I don't know if that's just on how many fish are in that river, if it stays at that side or what, but you just seem to catch a lot of 2-pounders, 2.5-pound fish down there.
And I guess I would credit that also is you guys are getting better. I think the bass fishermen that are in this tournament now, they're taking it pretty serious. They enjoy the heck out of it. They do a lot more pre-fishing, it seems, and they're getting better at it and kind of throwing their walleye rods and reels to the side and going after that bass. Which is, from what I understand, I fished for bass one time with my buddy Chuck Olson, who used to always get in these tournaments, and he always gets in the Canadian one. But I think he wasn't in the American side this year, but. It's a love, it's a passion, it's a high.
Yeah, it's definitely that. I mean, like I did this while I was in high school, and saved up my money through working out the summer, and then it was okay. You pay for your gas, you pay for your baits, and if you can afford a rod or two in summer, that's what it was there for. And then you go back to school after that. Now I'm up to 4 tournaments. I got one left here at the end of September, but it's an addiction, man. When you catch those big ones, you hook into them, they come flying out of the water. They're just like your deep sea fishing grouper or something. They come flying out of the water. It's like, oh, look at that, and then the battle's on, right? It's you got a fish on over 4 pounds. It's okay. What do I got to do to get this in the boat? And I think that's been my biggest change. I've always seemed to catch 1 or 2 big fish throughout the summer, but it hasn't happened. But it's finding more of them. It's when you hook into something like that, when you've been catching 2-pounders all day, you gotta loosen up the drag. You got to let that big one wear out, because they got a lot of power, those fish, and they'll do whatever it takes to get off that line before they get off the boat.
And I'm guessing you're probably middle flight next year when you get in with the 32nd plate. Is it a big advantage, Billy, to have top 10 flight honors as far as getting out in that water, especially the first day?
For myself, kind of boats we're running, we could be there just as fast as we're doing 65 miles an hour across the lake, and we could be to anywhere on the lake in a half hour. So for myself, it is nice to be one of the first ones to leave, but we're passing a lot of boats. I haven't had it affect us one bit on where we've left in the field, especially even if we were one of the last ones to leave in the past. It hasn't affected us one bit on when we left.
Because I did talk to one fisherman today, and he was in the second flight. He ended up getting in the money, but again, the old thing, I missed the Powerball by 1 ball, right? Well, he said he's been fishing that same spot that the winners were on, and it was just a matter of who was going to get out to those spots first.
Yeah.
And not saying the guy I was talking to would have got there and done the same, But I would think leaving earlier in some cases, unless maybe Billy's an experienced fisherman. People, he doesn't have just one spot out there. He's probably got 21 spots. So that's what you got to do. You got to expect the unexpected when you're out there, and your spot. I mean, even when I go out walleye fishing, I'm not guaranteed to get on the 3 spots that I'm interested in getting. There might be another boat there, and I don't like fishing next to other boats just for, there's a lot of spots on the lake. Let's go somewhere else.
Well, and that brings back a thing here. Back when Carl Howells and Dale LaBelle won it here a couple years back, I had this one spot that we wanted to get to, and we were one of the later boats to leave, and those guys were sitting on it. It was an island in the middle of the lake that it's like, oh geez, we caught a couple nice ones there, and we watched them catch our 5 fish there, and that ended up being the winning bag there. It's like, oh my God, I knew those fish were there. Yeah. It's just the way after that year, I come to figure out that there is not a secret spot. If you found it, someone else will be.
Exactly.
And that's just the way it goes. You got to go and have several of those spots, and that's what, Gussie and Scott, they were the first ones to get to that spot, but I guarantee you, if there was someone fishing that, they would have had a spot just as good, and that's what comes down between us and them. Those guys are good enough that they will have 4 or 5 spots where they can go and catch 20 pounds. Where it's someone that's not quite as experienced, or that stuff that we're learning now is that we got to go out and find that spot, because there's always going to be someone sitting there. You got to have more than just that one spot.
Yeah, and the best thing, I don't know the 2 winners, Scott, and who's the other guy?
And Jeff Gustafson.
But just listening to the interview and the way they talked, and yeah, they won. But it seems like, talking to Ringer, these 2 guys are the real deal. They're really nice guys, and I think that's you guys all are developing friendships, and that's good, because the tournament doesn't need a couple we don't need rebels out there.
We don't need a Ringer and a Boly in there to mix things up a little bit.
Well, you don't need a Boly out there causing trouble. I mean, I'll get out there in my pontoon and start splashing these guys. But I just found it that these guys were genuine, sincere. They won it 4 times, but they're out there and they're happy for everybody else. Like, they were the first ones to comment. Yeah. I'm sure you heard it too. That the other 2nd and 3rd place boats normally would have won this tournament.
Yeah, well, and that's one thing. I have fished with Gussie there last year. I had an opportunity to go fishing with him and Scott Martin before the Falls tournament, and he's all open to giving his advice. Try this, try that. Look for this structure, look for that structure, and so he's he wants other younger kids I could see to win it just as much as he does, and he's just really actually got the knack for them smallmouth bass.
Okay, I have to ask, with the new setup, you don't have to go onto the river one of the days. Are you in favor of that, and why?
Well, I always did enjoy going on the river, but I'm not against it. There has been.
Why don't you be more like me and just say it the way it is?
Well, especially running the boats, and you're starting to see more and more of those kind of, big bass boats. We pay, ours isn't as fancy as some of these guys out here, but we tend to, put a lot of money in that and all the gets and gadgets that we got into them. There's been a lot of times we've been flying down the river, and not necessarily in our big boats. We'll go out in small boats and stuff and run the same spot for 10 years, and then pretty soon deadhead shows up, right? So, but it's no different than the lake. It was a week before the bass tournament this year, and been through that spot a million times, and just happened to go off just a little bit. A rock was there, right? So you're looking at the same thing. It doesn't matter. It just seems that the river, the way it fluctuates and the way stuff moves around on that, I always did enjoy it, because you were almost guaranteed to bring in your 5 fish off of that, which was kind of cool. That's definitely a big step when you're getting into fishing. You just want to get those 5 first before you go and get the big hogs. But you're going to end up hitting anything on any kind of body of water, I think. And that's the only thing that, when it comes to stuff moving around, I'm a little uneasy. That's like last year. My dad just bought his, and he goes, "Oh, geez, we can't take this down on the river." He goes, "We're taking." Yeah, I was like, "No, that's fine." I go, "If you don't feel comfortable enough, that's fine. We'll run mine, but you got to expect that we're going to be going 60 miles an hour on that." And he's like, "Okay," you know.
So what's new for next year? Obviously, they pull the fishermen. They talk to the fishermen. One of the things that they talked about last year was people not wanting to be on the river. So what can the casual fan expect to see new for the fishermen for next year?
Gary's always seemed to get something special up his sleeve. You know, he's always got some good ideas and stuff like that. On the fishing side, I think they're gonna kind of ride this out to see what they got. I mean, they definitely. On my side, and I could probably speak for most of our fishermen, we are very happy with what they did, or fish care and everything. They're very awesome on all that stuff. So when it comes to, I'm guessing maybe something new under the big top. Maybe they're going to add something for the people in town. You know, people wanted to see bigger bags, and obviously Gussie and Scott and Rule and Charlie and John and Eggs, they all were able to produce those big fish to get in the top 3 there, and the fans like to see that kind of stuff. So now to do this again next year, I think it's going to be something maybe
stadium seating.
Yeah. I wouldn't underestimate Potts on something like that.
Well, and like I said, they're always trying to tweak things and do something. And if from my standpoint, where I was with the radio station, all I can say is Friday I wasn't crowded. Saturday I was crowded. And I was getting bumped and pushed and shoved, and it took away from the experience a little bit for me, because not that I had to speak a whole bunch, because Gary did a lot of the work, but you're trying to put a product out there, and when somebody's always giving you a jab or an elbow because somebody's pushing in the crowd. I mean, when the top 10 boats came in, it got nutso.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the reasons we fish this thing is, you know, we like that excitement on seeing those people. I couldn't even imagine. I've never been through a tent ride myself. I couldn't imagine what that would be like. I've always been the guy in the back getting pushed and shoved.
Well, did you kind of have a read on those last 3 groups as they came through, because they were kind of sitting out there on top and out there a little bit? I didn't necessarily get a read on the local boys, but I sure had a read on Gustafson and Dingwall. They were at ease. They knew they had won. They knew they had won.
Well, when we pulled up through the dock, you could see it. I mean, they didn't say much, but you knew that those guys, and that's, you know, when you get to the caliber of those guys, you know, that's almost like Edina coming to town, right? Or going to the state tournament or something like that, St. Thomas Academy. Those are those guys. They are that good. And, you know, they got the fishery up there in Lake of the Woods that's very similar to Rainy Lake. They could almost, I'm guessing that they probably do a lot of fishing around home. They see where their bass are. It don't change much between here and there, you know. When Gussie goes to Florida fishing FLW tour events, he's got to go down there and fish several lakes around there to get things dialed in down where he's going to. So I'm guessing that they probably had something already figured out before they got to town. They just had to go and find it.
I look at Charlie and Eggsy. They're almost too pretty. To be fishing in this bass tournament. You know, they're the guys on the lake. You know, shirts off, water skiing. Babe trolling and all that. But maybe they probably helped out the women participation during the weigh-in.
And they picked good partners. You know, Rule spends a lot of time on the lake, and Blasky.
And the Rule's a nice looking boy too. I mean, these are good looking kids.
For sure, good friends of mine, and you know, these boys, both Charlie and Eggsy, they seem to put things together where they know that if they're fishing with these 2 guys, they're going to be probably a top 10. You know, I think they got 2 guys that know that.
They're no dummies, right?
Yeah, exactly. So no, those guys. I got to give it to Rule. I kind of know the area that he was fishing, and I seen him out pre-fishing, and he had him dialed in. You could see it. He was just checking his spots to see who he had to see who was fishing those spots. So I got to give it up for especially our local boys there for coming. It was nice to see both those guys, and all four of those guys all go fishing together. So to know that those boys put together a couple good bags like that, that's pretty nice to see.
It is cool. Maybe we get a 2-hour ringer and Boly show or something, and give you some room so people aren't bumping into you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
get some live interviews with, we won't go down to like bottom 30 or anything. But,
I wouldn't make that. I'm just good enough to
we'll talk to top teners. So good. That was a lot of fun. Thanks. Good conversation. You can stick around for the rest of it.
You want to talk Twins?
Like, and, I'm not really a big
Vikings.
I could talk a little.
Gophers?
I'm not big into her, but I could put some input into it.
That's all we.
I've seen a lot of those games myself in high school from the bench. So let's see what we got.
I don't know anything.
So let me get. Do you follow Boly on Twitter?
What? I don't have Twitter.
You don't have Twitter?
I don't.
Man, Boly sent it out today. Boly went fishing on Twitter today. He was looking to rock the boat, and apparently, if you don't
Twitter to me is basically opinions. You each have your own opinion. Doesn't mean you're right or wrong.
Well,
if you don't hit 30 home runs, you're no good.
Right?
You can bat 345. It don't matter. You're getting on base. It doesn't matter. And he's going against sabermetrics completely.
Well, I'm not a big analytic guy. I'm not a big statistic guy. You know that. My nephew's chirping at me. Basically, what I did is I threw out a tweet. Buxton and Rosario and Kepler and Polanco and all these guys are coming up.
Yeah.
Sano's even actually been off, but he's still part of the big 5 or 6. I mean, we're pretty loaded, and these guys are starting to get it.
Yeah.
The only comment I made is, how come Mauer's never in the headlines? And he's not.
Yeah.
He's making $23 million a year.
In 3 games in Toronto this weekend, he got 8 hits.
But how do you compete with that when, who was it, Buxton hit 3 home runs?
But no, he's got...
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
You see, we're paying attention.
Yeah, so how do you...
He's the guy's 6'5". He's 220, 225, rock solid. Okay?
Yeah?
Yeah, he's not a home run hitter.
But he didn't hit 3 home runs. That's why he's not in the headlines. Simple as that.
Can I talk? Okay, 1 year. Yeah, he's not a home run hitter. I've come to agree with that. But he's got 51 RBIs, 6 home runs and 51 RBIs. He's making $23 million. Maybe I'm just too attached to the $23 million and what I think you should be getting out of a first baseman. First baseman's a power hitter position. First baseman, third baseman, left field, right field. Those are your guys. He's not Cesar Tovar, okay? He's not out in center field running around batting, 300.
So would you rather have him? And I'm asking now, straight out. I'm asking. So would you rather have him batting 260 like Sano is and hitting 30 home runs? Or would you rather see him batting 345 or I'll say 315, 330 even, because 345 is probably out of the realm of most players these days. Batting 315 and getting some walks and having an on-base percentage above 400. Would you rather have him doing that?
Out of the 3, 4, and 5 hole ringer, you need
power.
You need power.
So what you're saying is Molitor doesn't know what the heck
we got a guy. We're sitting him down in the minors, developing, and he keeps developing. This Kenneth Vargas, who's a perfect example, little Poppy they call him. Named after Big Poppy, the guy we got rid of years ago, and then he went out and hit about 300 home runs after the Twins released. But anyways, I just think your power hitters.
So Molitor is the mistake here. So if Joe was batting 2 or 6, you'd be okay with what he's doing.
The thing is, it's no one's mistake. The Twins' hands are tied. They can't release them. They can't trade them. At $23 million, they're just stuck at the $23 million. Okay, I'm one of the minority. There's others that totally agree with me. When I throw out a tweet like that, I am going to get attacked because it's Minnesotaville. I am out in Pittsburgh. Nobody says a thing, but out in Minnesota, they protect their own. And but I got to go against the grain. I mean, Mauer hit 28 home runs his MVP season back in 2010. His next best home run season. He's had big RBI years. That's where I have more problems with, is where the RBIs. He should be hitting 80 to 90 RBIs a year. His next best home run year after the 28 was 13 home runs.
Wow.
He's only got 132 career home runs.
Yeah.
Okay, he isn't even up to another story I can get wound up about is Michael Kadire getting in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, my God.
I mean, Brian Dozier just hit, he's got more home runs than Kadire already.
You got to let that go, man.
And Dozier's only been in the league 5 years. I mean, it's like, again, I'm not going after high school kids. It's like a kid who plays high school basketball now, starts in 8th grade. He's going to get to the 1,000-point club. He just has to average 8 points a game, okay, for 20.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. It's apples and oranges. So I guess my point is I can't get too down on Mauer. I think the concussion thing's there, obviously.
A little bit.
But the guy can hit. There's not a better, probably pure hitter in baseball right now. Now, is he worth the $23 million? That's where I get stuck with. He's worth probably $10 million.
Yeah,
okay.
I would agree.
All right, let's get off Mauer. Twins make the playoffs?
I sure hope so, man.
Sure hope so.
That's where I like to watch my baseball.
This isn't I hope so or sure hope so show. This is a yes or no. Okay?
Yeah, they're
Billy,
going to make it, man. Just like the Vikings, going to the Super Bowl this year.
There you go. Going to be the first.
You didn't watch last night's game, did you?
Well, they came back, man. It's what? Yeah.
First NFL team to play the
That's
Super
right.
Bowl
That's
at
why
home.
I'm rooting for them.
Well, if we get to play third team against third team the whole year, we got a shot.
We got a shot.
Well, I'll tell you what, come back like that, win by 1 point, the boys can do it.
Now, who scored that winning 2-point conversion?
I don't even know.
There you go.
I was worried about
Billy Bright talking NFL football.
So let me ask you, Michael, because I'm sure you watched the game intently last night.
I was actually at a fantasy football draft, and we had the TV on right over to my right, so we were kind of watching it off and on. Correct.
So the thing I saw either on Twitter or I think it was Twitter today was about Boone, the left guard.
Yeah.
He's not probably going to be the left guard, and we went after him in free agency, and how bad things were when he was in the game, and how things seemed to clean up when he got out of the game in the middle of the second quarter or whenever it was. Is that a product of he's losing it, or is it a product that San Francisco had started to put some of their subs in the game?
The only problem I have with Boone, okay, so he's struggling, but the guy doesn't quit chirping. He's always got something to say to the press and the crowd. He's yapping at the crowd and the press. He blames everybody else but himself. He signed a big contract with the Vikings. The press are going to get in on him a little more than the regular players, just like they're going to get on Remmers and Reef right now because they have the new tackles we brought in. Now, Boone, I'm guessing, still going to get the benefit of the doubt and probably start the season on the left guard position. But tell you what, they lose that opening game to New Orleans. It could be Katie by the door, and Zimmer's real close to losing it.
So is it Matt Khalil all over again, where he just starts mouthing off and he knows that he's lost a step, and the way he's going to deal with it was by making his mouth run so he can go play with his brother?
That's up to leadership. Who's going to step forward and get on Boone and say, listen, quit chirping, play.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't, Richie Incognito got in a lot of trouble a few years ago for bullying and picking on a player, and which was totally wrong what he did. But behind the scenes, Richie Incognito was a great leader. People did follow him. He overstepped his boundaries there because he was picking on a young guy. Sometimes your leadership has to get on other guys to get them going, and we got to find out who that leader is. At Berger on the offensive line, he's been there probably the longest. Is it Reef? I don't know. I don't know if they have it. I think Boone is probably their somewhat best leader on that offensive line. But if he's not playing well, it's going to be disappointing. But we'll see. It's I hope Boone gets it together, and because he has got some talent.
Where are we going next? What do you want to talk? You want to talk PJ Fleck?
PJ Fleck? No, you and Billy can. I'm not rolling the boat.
You're not going to roll the boat?
You won't ever see me tweet anything about.
You're not going to roll the boat? You aren't on board?
I'm going to use a motor. You guys roll your boat.
You're not.
I'm going to use Billy's 200.
You're not going to say that we're going to the Rose Bowl or anything like that?
We're not going to the Rose Bowl.
Well, we knew that, but
maybe 5 years. I mean, the guy's, he's emotional. He's excited. I think there's some BS to him, but you got to have a little bit of that to get in some of the high-end recruits that you need. And winning is the best recruiter you got. Richard Patino's finding that out, and he was actually on today on K-Fan and was talking Big Ten championship there. But PJ Fleck, I would guess 5-7 this year for the Gophers of the football team.
5 and 7 make a bowl game at 5 and 7?
Of course they do. Doesn't everybody make a bowl game with 5 wins? I think Bronco Stadium's after your guy, that's your buddy from Minnesota State High School.
Boly?
That was a great thing, by the way. I thought that was nice. A lot of good press here up here in the Falls. But boy, the way he talked, we could get a bowl game here at Bronco Stadium.
He was very impressed, as were the Virginia coaches, as long as we went down that road, about how great the field, what great shape the field was in.
It always is.
And it is always in great shape.
Well, that comes back to even my years, Bronco Arena and the gym and the Bronco Stadium there. I got to give it to the guys that work on that stuff, all our athletic fields and, baseball fields, tracks. I mean, we do got an awesome sport that revolves around sports or awesome schools.
I agree with you 100%. And I want to say I was at the stadium a week before the game, and the grass was, and I not blaming judging, the grass was brown in some places, the grass was superiorly green in some places, and I'm like, ooh, we're going to see when I showed up Thursday night, as John Millay said from the Minnesota State High School League, this is a green, I can't remember what he used, but he said it was a green field of dreams type of thing when we were down on the field, and the Virginia coaches were saying that it's the best field around. We are very fortunate for what we have, and we've been able to maintain it, and that's the number one thing.
Well, and even in the years that when I was going to high school there, I don't think there has been many times, unless it's been pouring down rain, that field has really actually turned to mud. I mean, there's been a lot of other fields that I've seen people go to, unless it's pouring down rain, even the day before, that field seems to dry up real nice for a good Friday night football game.
It does, and of course a lot of teams going, as Mr. Millay said, going to the artificial turf because of lacrosse and soccer. The fields just cannot take that, so we don't have to worry about those kinds of things, I don't think, anywhere in the near future. So,
speaking of which, it was the summer of '78. Boly going into his senior year, going to be the upcoming quarterback for the year. I actually went and talked to Stuart Nordquist, my coach at the time, and I brought up the fact that maybe we should try to bring in AstroTurf, some sort of special turf, because my game was all about speed. Billy. I was kind of a run and gun type quarterback, a lot of options, things like that. So I asked Nordy if we could maybe bring in some artificial turf, because the regular grass was slowing me down.
What was his response?
He said, I don't even know if I'm going to play that quarterback. He might be my tight end this year, but no, not a true story.
No. So where else are we going? What do we got, Michael?
Well,
how about you want to talk money? How about this McGregor?
And you want to talk Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah.
Mayweather and
Yeah, we talking money. These guys are making.
Did you watch?
No, I was worried about fishing.
Well, but this was after the fishing was done.
Yeah, you gotta heal the wounds.
You've been healing it for 3 days, Bill.
Yeah, when you're out there pounding in 4-footers, it's time to go to bed after you get off that stage. But you're talking guys that are even getting knocked out for $3 million a minute.
Yeah.
Hey? I
heard it was a better fight than anticipated. First 3 rounds, actually, McGregor was right in there with them, just a matter of time. But, they made it entertaining enough that it actually might have to happen again.
Yeah, well, what Mayweather said, he's done.
Well, he's not going to jump in that other ring with McGregor.
Those guys, they're just crazy.
But for another $100 million? Would he'd probably say for another $100 million, wouldn't he?
I would think. I mean, that's like winning a Powerball ticket right there. If you're right.
I think before I watched that, I'd put in Rocky 2.
Yeah. I was surprised the number of people that I knew had went someplace to watch it. I had no desire to go watch it. It was more spectacle than sport, as far as I was concerned. Yeah. And that stuff does not interest me.
I'm not really a big fighting fan myself, but I'll tell you what, when they start talking numbers like that, guaranteed 30 million, guaranteed 100 million, and we're talking Maurer making 23, those are pennies to those guys.
Yeah, and then you get in a fishing tournament, they say we don't got it guaranteed, but there is a $10,000 top prize.
Yeah. What am I doing wrong here? We're gonna start a club right here at Looney's Brew, or we gonna, for $30 million, who's coming?
There you go.
So I went down to the state fair over the weekend. I
Had to work?
Had to work it. Also was able to attend a Stevie Nicks concert.
I was going to say, was it Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks?
It was Stevie all alone. She was amazing.
Yeah? Still got it.
Her voice just, kicks it all. My wife loves Fleetwood Mac. She was kind of iffy on the Stevie Nicks alone thing, and I said, Diana, that's actually going to be better because it's just going to be Stevie. We won't have to listen to little whiny Lindsey Buckingham in the background. But Stevie's got a great voice, and it's a unique voice. You look back at the old artists, Steven Tyler and even Mick Jagger, Leonard Skinner, all these old bands. They all have Queen, Freddie Mercury, distinct voices. Now you turn on the radio, you cannot tell who the name of the person singing is. Like back in the 70s, we could tell just by the voice. We didn't have to hear anything else. But a wonderful show. Fleetwood Mac is going to be kicking out a tour in 2018. Diana's convinced enough after watching Stevie that we're going to go that. We did get stormed out. We didn't get to watch the encore. There was no encore for Stevie. She said, I got to go. There's lightning all around you. I'm leaving. Thank you. Have a good night. So she didn't sing Landslide, Rhiannon, and Sarah. And I don't know if she would have sang Leather and Lace or not, because that's kind of a guy-girl song. And but she was so good. And again, I always tell people, get out and about, go see things, go to concerts you don't normally would go to. We only got one shot on this earth. Do it, like Billy. He goes out.
Go to Guns N' Roses.
That's how he. You did Guns N' Roses. I mean,
Guns N' Roses, and then went and watched Ricky Skaggs the next weekend.
Ricky Skaggs, there's some talent.
Little bluegrass. It was awesome.
Yeah. So what else? What else is going on?
What else is going on? Well, we got the high school season started. We should make mention of that. And the Bronco football team loses to Virginia 29-6, but the volleyball team started the season off right with a nice win at Two Harbors. And Little Fork Volleyball also got their season started. They dropped a 4-set match to Mesabi East, but they'll really start getting into earnest in the next couple of weeks. Swimming starts on Thursday. They got a 3 o'clock meet at home against Hibbing on Thursday at 3 o'clock. Volleyball's got a couple of matches this week at home on Wednesday and Thursday. And of course, the Bronco football team heads to Proctor on Friday. That's kind of the week. Little Fork football's at home on Friday.
Okay, answer me this.
Answer me this.
I'm going to ask you the question. It's probably being asked all throughout the town. Stuart Nordquist, back coach and assistant coach under the current Bronco regime. How's that working? What is he doing? And
I believe that his official title would be offensive coordinator, but you don't bring 40 plus years of experience to the table and say, well, we're only going to be the offensive coordinator. I'm sure Stuart has a lot to say about what's going on defensively and also special teams wise, and I think that he has a wealth of knowledge, and I think the rest of the coaching staff is looking at that as something that they want to absorb as much as they can.
Sure.
And then
don't be offended.
And I know Stuart and I have chatted that he hasn't been coaching for 9 years, and it's a little tougher physically. Not mentally, physically it's tougher this time, and we all know as we get older, things just don't happen as we'd like to. So he, I think, is very conscientious about how active he is out on the field and trying to make sure that he's in a safe zone and all that other stuff, because I think it's just a product of where he's at.
Okay, now did you play football, Billy?
I wasn't a football guy.
Okay.
I did baseball, a little bit of hockey, and but I think it's kind of good, going and watching a Friday night football game now and seeing Nordy back out on the field. I always kind of enjoyed to watch him and listen to him scream a little bit, get a little fired up on the sidelines, and I'm definitely interested to go back and check out a couple of games, like Ringer said. After having all those years of football experience, he's obviously got something to bring to the table, and I think that's exactly what we need is someone like that. Fromke, I think he's going to make a great head coach.
I hope so.
And
has the right attitude.
Yep. He's really into it. he's a guy that's not going to just sit back and, you know, let anyone run over him. I think Fromke will get in there, and if he wants to make a decision, he'll definitely make it. And I think that, you know, he'll take up some advice. I don't know if he's ever coached football in the past, but, you know, I think that he'll be able to learn some things from Nordy, and Nordy's had some good years. I remember in my 7th and 8th grade year with the Boyle boys and the Gilos and all those guys, man, they were, still remember those guys going to state and play in, I believe it was, Becker?
Becker State.
Yeah, what was there, 40 kids on the field, and they had between 100-yard lines, kids lined up for every single position. Yeah, I still remember that. That was, you know.
I remember it too, Billy. But it wasn't a good memory, but it's
no. Well, but
yeah.
seriously,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, but when you got kids that play one position versus kids that play 2 or 3 positions.
Second week of deer camp.
Yep.
I was going through Orr, Minnesota during that game.
Yeah. I remember that, and that I think our boys. Yeah, it was a tough game. We really got a kick in that game, but for the boys to make it as far as they made it, that's pretty impressive, especially coming from my Falls, right?
Yeah, the only team to score a touchdown on them in the state playoffs.
Yep.
In 3 games, we were the only team that scored a touchdown.
That just talked about how good we were that year.
Yeah.
You always got to look at something that was positive. I think getting back to the football, we just need to be patient, and we need to get kids out. That is the whole key. Is we need kids to want to play and make it fun for them, and also make it rewarding. I mean, there's nothing better than a team atmosphere in football. I played golf, I played football and hockey. All 3 of them were different sports for me in different ways. Okay?
Yep.
Golf was totally individual. You can call it a team sport, it's not. You're on your own, you're trying to win. Okay?
Yep.
The other 2 sports are such team sports. Football, you know, it was so unique because I had different friends I hung around with during the football season, and that was kind of the fun part. And then I had a whole different group, a lot more cocky, that I hung around with in my hockey circle. But both of them were just priceless times. I mean, I remember guys who didn't play were just as important as the guys who played.
How about Rabs? Did he play?
Yeah, he was my fullback.
Okay.
And my fullback.
So was he on the? Now he carried the cocky side over to the football team.
Rab wasn't that. Rab was a little nutso. He was never cocky. Very respectful of the game. Worked harder than anybody in any sport. Never cocky.
Well,
a little nutso.
Well, I'll tell you what. When you're as big as that guy, you don't need to be cocky.
But anyways, we got to get more kids. Get out there and play. You know, it's I understand there's people worried about concussions and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, you can get a concussion going to school, falling down. So.
Yeah. But now, like, what's our numbers for this year?
Pretty good.
I heard in the mid-30s is what was the number that I heard out for the team. So pretty much the same as it's been in the past.
Okay.
Now, some unfortunate news if you're not for a Minnesota Wild fan today. It wasn't late breaking, but announced at about 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. Michael Russo's leaving the Star Tribune, the Minnesota Wild beat writer. Probably the reason I started tweeting was because of him. Okay. I followed Michael for the last 2 years, and he's always there's nobody who works harder, knows more about anything that's going on with the Wild than that guy. No, I didn't agree with him all the time, and I had some banters with him here and there, and then I met him up in the press room one time, and we got to talking again, and a month later I threw a shot out, and he gave it back to me, and but that's what tweeting's about. It's opinions. Okay, Michael, I don't agree with you that. And then he'll say, okay, here's what I think. Here's what I think. Shake hands, move on.
Yeah.
What you don't want is idiot tweeters who just want to keep coming at you and keep going and keep bantering on. But it's real unfortunate. Michael Russo's a true professional in the media world. And
where's he heading to?
He's going to a thing called The Athletic. It's based out of Chicago. It's a subscription-based media. From what I'm getting, it's Ken Rosenthal, the baseball writer. I think he's kind of going there already. it's huge, huge money. I mean, this is the wave of
the future.
Yeah, you see a lot of, newspapers starting to cut staff, especially, sports in general. I mean, there's been, I don't know how many times I've seen on Twitter, because these are the people I follow, the media, and that all these guys and gals are losing their jobs, and they all work for big newspapers. So I think what it comes down to is Rooster probably sees maybe a bigger future, a really good next 15 years of his life in this. I hope he stays just in hockey. I think it would be uncomfortable if he went over to football and other things. He's a great hockey guy.
Well, when it comes down to that, it's going to be nice to have a Minnesota guy down there in the Windy City, I'm guessing. Someone to back us up when Chicago comes to town.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm guessing his allegiance might change a little bit. You definitely don't want to be bashing the Bears and the Blackhawks and the Bulls on media. But it's a tough loss for Minnesota. It's going to be tough to replace him, and be interested to see who and what they bring in. But
I heard maybe Mike Bolstead might be applying for the job.
Well, there's somebody with some local ties who does work for the NHL Network already. Her name is Jessie Pierce. And I've been following Jessie now for about a year.
Is this the lady that we were supposed to have as a guest last year? And
she shunned us. Okay. She actually is out on Grindstone. You know the Surwas live?
Oh, yeah.
That's where Jessie is during the summer. She's related to the Surwa family. And her mom's name is Kim Clark, and she was a year behind me in school. And I got to know her and actually kind of become friends with her. And she's due to have a baby here, but she's very good. She's always so positive, and I come on, can you be a little negative? Can you throw a shot out once in a while? Because Russo's not afraid to do that.
Sure.
Where she's, I'll never forget this. She was trying to do a story on Kyle Oposo at the Beauty League at Braemar. And she said, it looks like I'm going to get him on. And it came down to maybe getting him on and talking to him. And he, at the last minute, kind of pulled out. Now, he's dealt with big problems at the end of last year. He missed the last half of the year, and he had some issues. And a lot of people don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is. But anyways, it was a health issue. It was scary. It was, it was real scary. And she put everything right out there. She was honest. And she said, he didn't want to do the interview, and I respect that. And she kept talking real positive about him. She didn't get mad. She just very good.
She still wants that interview.
Yep.
She still wants the interview, and I think a couple days later he called her back up again and opened up a little bit to her then.
Okay.
Probably not for release yet, but she's very good, very professional. I don't know what her goals are. I mean, she is having a baby, but hopefully she has that baby and she gets back out there, because she is a good follow on Twitter if you ever join.
Okay, I'll think about it. Well, now that I know that you're on there.
Wow. I talk to people. Oh, you didn't see. Yeah, well, Boly, one thing is you're opinionated, which is.
Well, I've known you for a long time, and that's one thing that I've always appreciated. That's the way it is.
Yeah, if you don't like it.
Hey, what?
There's the. You can go, right?
Yep. That's the way it should be.
There's too many nice people.
Exactly.
I'm actually really nice.
Hey, don't let them.
I come across sometimes. It's kind of a. What? Anything else, Ringer?
Well, there's so much. I mean, we took the summer off. There's so much that we could talk about. But
fishing, I've only been fishing twice this year. Once with Woody when we went on the opener weekend, and once with Diana and Burke. We went out for about an hour. I got bored. Plus, I just like driving in my pontoon and taking my time and seeing those beautiful houses I wish I owned.
Well, I'll tell you what, you want to go for a rail ride, let's go.
Yeah, you and I.
And you look back there, tonight would be the perfect night to go ahead and let her rip. There's not much of a chop out there.
I don't play favorites on the lake. I stop at all 4 of the main resorts. Island View, Shea is where I leave my boat. I come here, that's probably the longest ride, but I've probably been here 5 times this summer, pull my pontoon right up even on the shore here once in a while. But speaking of Ide.
Oh, my buddy Ide, yeah.
Okay, 15, 16-pound bag day 1. Did you sleep in, or what do you do?
No, they just had a tough spot.
Tough spot?
Yeah, they fished a tournament with him 2 weeks prior to the IFBC. Me and him ended up with a 3rd place finish in the Wild Potato Classic. That was one of my highlights of the year, so I got to spit that out.
Was that up by the Seine?
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah, and we ended up with 37 pounds.
Wow.
So, I mean, another respectable bag.
So he just never caught fish.
He just didn't catch any fish.
Nice job, I tell you. Maybe take your skinny out next time, your dad.
I'll tell you what, that kid, he worked hard all summer.
There was another big bag too the first day that didn't.
The Brigham boys, right?
Yeah.
Brigham and Myers, yes.
Myers, I was told before the weigh-in started that they were not even gonna show. They weren't even gonna come in or up onto the stage. So I had gotten that, but they didn't tell me about Ide and
Wagner.
Wagner, thank you. That was so. I kept on the radio. I was kind of like, well, when are they coming? Maybe it's going to be the top 11 because maybe they knew something or whatever. And then finally somebody was listening, got a hold of the scoreboard and showed me that they had a dash. And so, hey, those things happen.
I'll tell you what, I don't think there was two boys that worked harder than those two this summer.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
If anyone knows Jake Ide, that kid, when he goes in, he's all in. That kid, he spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of time on the phone. We spent a lot of time going over maps together. Hey, he went to an area of Rainy Lake. He broke it down. Okay, where are these fishing? He started in the middle of June fishing bass.
Wow.
And he broke it down all summer. Where are these fish going to go? He had them patterned right out. And when it got down to it, where those fish were at, the wind was there. Mm-hmm. And what happens, that's what happens. He had his area of the lake that he could have fished any other day except for a southeast wind. So he had that kind of stuff. And so now when you get to those kind of things, you go and hide behind islands, you go try to find other spots, you try to break it down as quick as you can. You only got 8 hours to do it. And there's no timeouts on that game right there. You know, you're out there. I don't care, everyone talks about, oh, geez, these guys do it, but it's seriously a game of 8 hours that you got no timeouts. It's you against a fish and no one else. And who brings in the biggest ones, who beats the fish is the ones who win.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank not just the International Falls Bass Championship, but the Fort Francis. I think the two within a month of each other is outstanding for both communities. Brings in a lot of money.
Yep.
Puts some heads in some beds, and it's good for our economy. So Potter and your crew, I know you got a big crew. Keep doing it, and thank you for doing it.
Good enough?
Nothing else, yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. That was awesome, guys.